replay, put hashtag replay. We got a super awesome session for you tonight. So we're talking about 9 properties in less than 2 years. But let me tell you something, that is the tip of the iceberg of what you're going to get out of this. Like, let's think of this. Let's think of who's been like people watching this, or people can relate to this. Like, who's been in a position where it's like, I'm just working some hours. I'm not really sure where I'm going. But then all of a sudden, with a direction, with action, with some feedback, with a new direction, with action and some feedback, we can turn it all around. So yes, Abby is on here. So start tagging some people who might be interested in seeing all of this. Yes, Marie, good. Yeah, awesome. Yeah, Marie said she was going to be here. So I like people who do what they say they're going to do. So this is good. So start tagging some people so we can get this story out to the world, because the whole point of Real Life Money Monday is to talk about, yes, money, yes, property, yes, business. But really, it's like, what happens behind the scenes? What happens below the waterline? Not just what's sticking out like the tip of the iceberg. What does it really take, and what really is, and get people's different points of view on what is like financial freedom, what is money freedom, what is mind freedom, what is time freedom. It means many different things to many different people. So yes, Will Taylor, good to see you on here. Start tagging some people. Like, look, if you got Facebook friends, if you got social media friends, just tag them. You know, what's the worst that's going to happen? They're going to be like, what's this garbage? Yeah, if that's what they think, that's up to them. But at least you give them the chance, because I know how many people have changed their life where they first started watching this program, this, whatever you want to call it. I mean, we've rebranded it a couple of times, but now it is on the Real Life TV network. And this episode is Real Life Money Monday. I know how many people have changed their life. I know how many people have started being able to pursue their goals and dreams through just watching this. And some people of very recent times as well took their business, took their careers, took their property investing to the next level. So we're going to be talking about service accommodation. So put that in the comments if you want to know about service accommodation. We're going to be talking about sourcing. So let's talk about that. If you want to know about that, sourcing, how do you make cash? Yeah, by sourcing deals on, selling deals on. Yeah. Also, we're going to be talking about raising finance. So people who want to raise investor finance or joint venture finance to be able to fund their business and fund their property business. So put it in the comments if you want to know about that as well. Yeah. And also, if you have any questions of how you can get started, because look, this is also what we want to do. We want to bring people from all different types of backgrounds where, you know, like, you just, rather than you be bombarded with information of why you can't make it work, let's bombard you with information of how you can make it work. So put hashtag can make it work if that's what you're into. If that's what you're into, and you want to make it work, put hashtag can make it work. That's what we want to know. So what a wonderful pleasure I have with, some might say, the newly transformed, but I've always seen potential in our special guest that we have on here, who's going to impart his wisdom and his knowledge and his experience, most of all. So welcome to the panel, Alex.
Hi there, guys. Yeah.
Good to have you on here. So people have, you know, kind of a direction of what maybe questions you might want to ask for the people who are on here live, and some people who we may follow up with. Just give like a brief intro to, you know, like, what's life been like for you up to this point? Like, you obviously got to touch on the highlights here, you know, where you come from, how do you know, why property, how did you get into property, and then let's bring it up to present day, and then we'll delve deep into that.
Yeah, okay. So this guy, you guys don't know me, Alex Lever. I've only really been in property for the last 2 years, and before then I was a chef for 17 years. So that's all I've really ever known. You know, I've already ever known of just working 80 plus hours a week, you know, that just working away in the kitchen, not really being able to still even make ends meet. You know, just working so hard and that trying to get by, thinking that you have to work as hard as possible. But then reality is, you know, I wasn't working smart. I was just being another hamster on the wheel, you know, so that's how I started. I've now got 2 beautiful kids, Aston and Brooke. So Aston's 4 and Brooke's 3. So it really changed my mind. So as soon as we had our kids, you know, that was it. I knew that I had to change, and I knew that I had to start doing something different. Instead of working 80+ hours a week, not being able to see my family, I just knew that I had to do something different. So I started reaching out to people on Facebook, reaching out to like books, reaching out just to see people what they were doing. And I started like looking onto YouTube, things like that, just trying to get as much information as I possibly could to see what route that I wanted to take. So in the end, I saw service accommodation, and that's kind of where it steered me into. So there's a lot of people saying that you can get rich quite quickly, and you see all the stereotypes, you know, that it's supposed to be easy and things like that. So I started diving towards service accommodation, and I've done quite a bit of training, and I soon come to realize it is not easy. It is not easy in the slightest. Like it took me quite a while. I think it took me a good 6 months before I got my first actual official property over the line, and that was simply just because I didn't really know what I was doing. I'd done like a 2-day course, and I thought I was the don, you know. So I literally just managed to get my first property, and then from there I took a step back and actually realised what my outcome was going to be and what I actually wanted from property, and that was freedom. So I just carried on and on and on with service accommodation, managed to get 6 units, which is all systemized now, which has took quite some time, but it's just being able to provide enough time enough for my kids, really.
Yeah, good. So that gives a highlight. So some people, guys, if you've got questions in here, keep tagging people. Let's get the word out there to spread the love here and spread the light. I mean, we just had a 4-day program a couple of weeks ago. I don't even remember anymore. And a lot of people transformed. A lot of people took their business to the next level. So you know how important this work is. So tag some people, because many people's journey, they started watching this stuff here. This is why we do it live, uncut, no edited, Money Monday panel. Let's just, you know, give it as it is in real life. So let's ask this question, Alex. So 17 years as a chef. I'm assuming you didn't work 80 hours a week from the off, or did you?
Not from the offset, no. It's kind of just when I first started, I started as any chef normally did. So I started off as a KP. I was literally just like washing pots. Used to do sort of like 2 or 3 days a week. And I remember the chef coming up to me and just saying, like, you know what, you know, you've got something in you. I want to take you over to the chef inside and really show you, you know, what's that like. So I ended up, you know, sort of diving into being a chef, and then it was just literally kind of fell into it that way, really. And then, yeah, 17 years later, I've done a lot throughout that. I started working on the holiday park. So I worked on the holiday park for probably a good 5 or 6 years.
And that was chefing too?
That was chefing as well, yeah. So that was kind of just, yeah, starting off as a KP, working my way up the ranks.
What's a kitchen?
So kitchen porter, kitchen assistant. So I literally just used to be the dog's body, basically, just going around cleaning the floors, cleaning up the dishes, and just trying to help out the kitchen, really.
That's an important job. I mean, you can't have you can't have dirty floors. But I want to know this, and I want anyone else who's going to listen to this who may be in a similar, or, you know, can resonate with this anyway. Why 17 years before you decided to do, like, what kept you hooked to doing what you were doing?
I think, to be honest, I think it was definitely passion. Like, I had passion for cooking. When I first started, I didn't know it was a newfound passion. You know, once I came out of working on holiday parks, because that was literally just income. And when I was younger, all I really cared about was going out, getting drunk, you know, just having a party. I never really had any drive or anything like that. Like, I had no other passions, but just to work for the weekend. And that's all I did for a good sort of, I started basically working on holiday parks when I was about 14. And then started getting into like more of the chefing, and as I got a bit older. But all the way through, like, even working on holiday parks, you know, you'd be staying there getting drunk after work, and like underage, like, but even still, that's all I really did. And then I came away from working on holiday parks, and I started working in rosettes, and I started getting a little bit more, you know, like more knowledge as well, more information. Started working with better chefs. And I just really started seeing the passion come in then. You know, once I started doing Michelin, you know, and I actually got into pastry. So I became a pastry chef, and quite a well-known pastry chef as well then in the chefing industry. But I went all the way up to Michelin. You know, that's so when I moved off. So I used to live on the Isle of Wight, and that's where I was working on holiday parks. And I just knew that there was something more out there. So I just had to get away. I had to get off the island. I knew that, you know, there was nothing on that island for me to be able to grow into what I wanted to become. So in order to do that, I had to start working at the bigger boy levels, you know, start working at free rosettes and things like that, start learning from the masters. So I took that plunge and I decided to leave the island. And that's when I started jumping into 80 hours a week. You know, once I left there, we was working sometimes 5 in the morning, sometimes even go until 1 in the morning. So sometimes even more than, you know, 80 odd hours.
Yeah. Awesome. So guys, anybody who's watching this now, I would just tag a few people, just random names. You probably don't know half the people on your thing anyway. So just give them the opportunity to hop on it, because we're going to start to delve deep in how the transition was made. Yeah, so do tag some people on here. Let us know any questions that you have along the way as they come up as well, because we will make some time to answer some questions as well. So, okay, so 17 years, you were hooked by passion. I mean, what tells me something is like going into that industry and working your way up is you were a good, you know, student.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, and I would definitely say in any walk of life, you know, being a good student, especially if you want to be a good leader, and if you want to be in business, you want to lead your own family, you want to break outside the mold that was given to us, like education, get a degree, whatever that is. Yeah, and you know, then go get a job or what have you. Yeah, then you know, if you want to break outside that mold, you've got to be a leader. I mean, everyone's a leader, at least one person themselves. Yeah, but to be a good leader, you've got to be a good student. So, you know, that's very good. Or you've got to be a good follower, good student. They kind of go hand in hand. So what were the point during this? You said, oh, there was more. I knew there was more. So what was the point during the 17 years where you started to maybe feel uncomfortable with, you know, just living for the weekend, going to get drunk? Like, what happened?
Well, that all changed. Now, as soon as I left the island, it was the Isle of Wight was where, you know, the drinking and the constant just being out there partying. But when I left the island, I left everyone I ever knew. You know, so I went to a new place, didn't know anyone. I was living on site and everything as well. So it was literally just starting all over again. And those type of places aren't the type of places to be mucking around or anything like that. It's quite regimented. You have to make sure your mise en place is 100%. You know, and I've had times as well where I've had chefs screaming in my face, you know, because I didn't have mise en place right. And little things like that started eating at me. And like, I deserve more than this. You know, I deserve more than this out of life. Like, it just, you know, especially when you feel like you're doing your best, you're doing everything you possibly can, but it's still not good enough. You know, so I've had dishes thrown in the bin, I've had like screaming in my face, and that's just the way it is. You know, like I've worked at some places as well where like, you know, knives would even come out. You know, and that was, I know it's like.
And what's that? Is that to like, you know?
I think it's ego. Yeah, absolutely. Like,
but is that the way to train someone and say like, hey, listen, you got it wrong. Like, I want to scare you, I want to intimidate you?
Not whatsoever, you know, because all it did was just resent, you know, and I just didn't want to be there. And in the end, I ended up leaving there and I ended up working at a good sort of 8 or 9 different places over a span of about 3 years. And in that time, don't get me wrong, I did learn so much and I gained so much knowledge to the point where I actually started training. I become a head chef. And I think everything that I learned as I went on, how not to do things, is when I really started like respecting everyone, and everyone worked so much better in a team when you actually cared about the team. You know, like when you used to do a debrief and you'd all go at the end of the evening, go, okay guys, you know, what happened, what didn't happen, what worked, what didn't work, you know, and it really did work. You know, just seeing the level of creativity coming out of people, when you care about people, and you know, once I started working in places like that.
Is that there? You were doing that debriefing then?
Yes, more so now. Now we've got into property, but when we was going through it with training and like with yourself, it really resonated with me, and it took me back to that moment where, like, before a service and after a service, we'd have that mini brief of like how many gluten, how many dairy, how many vegans, who's got dietary requirements. We have to know exactly what was happening at exactly the right time. So it was honestly, it's like being in the army. It really was, and it did do a lot of things for me.
Good. Good. Okay. So, what's just coming to me right now is like this is really cool, because very briefly, the real life mission is to create harmonious civilization, and the way we can do that is in various different ways. One of them is people who want to be trained. They come to us because they want to be trained in business, in personal development, in transformational, in property, and all of that, and they want to be trained. The other way is children. So putting on training events and like building schools, like through the real life foundation and everything. So that's that way. Yeah. And then the other way, the only other place then left is like corporate. Yeah. Or like industries. Yeah. And this is another industry that's now coming to light. That's like, people are just a number. They just want to, pressure you. And like, the turnover is huge. I mean, I've supplied through my different companies and my software company, we've supplied hugely into hospitality, and the turnover is unreal. One major fast food restaurant, which I won't name, their turnover, what their annual turnover of staff was?
I can imagine.
300%. That's insane.
It doesn't surprise me.
That is insane. Yeah. So anyway, is to go into those industries under the real life brand, and go and create, go in a company just like we have in construction. Just go into these industries and revolutionize the way the industry works. Like, make people like use the company goals as a vehicle for them to live a fulfilled life. Not shout at them, not bury them in the ground, but train them well enough. Like if they didn't do the job, like if you didn't do the job well enough, whoever's training you, they didn't do their job. And as you've just seen, that's the kind of standard that we have. It's like, easily if something slips, and if it's under my responsibility and it slips easily, I could say, oh, they didn't do this, they didn't do that. But my thing is, I just say, I didn't train them well enough, I didn't communicate it well enough, I didn't hold them accountable enough. That's why it happened. Yeah. So take that then, and you imagine code of honor, people playing by the same rules, and take that into industries. Then either everybody will want to come and work for us or that company, or they will have to change the way that they're treating people. And that's how we contribute to this harmonious civilization, where people are working together, want to be together, want to help each other, want to see each other succeed. Love, the fun, the joy, and all the rest of it. So that was a bit of a side note there. But then, okay, so it started eating away at you. So then why property?
Well, just before I get into property, like I had an epiphany, basically. I was just like, I can't be doing this anymore. I can't be working this amount of hours and things like that. So I was always quite an entrepreneur. I was always doing other bits and pieces on the side. And I ended up building a business out of the chefing. Like I learned all of this throughout time. And then I just thought, well, all of these people were getting mistreated and things like that. So I set up a recruitment business. And I started every place that I worked all over the UK. Once I built this business, any place, any restaurant that needed a chef, I would go there, whether it be a month, 3 months, 6 months. I didn't have kids back then, so I was allowed, I could. Even though it was still hard on me and Abby, but I ended up building a recruitment business, and I had 30 chefs and that working with me. And that was just before I got into property. Obviously, COVID and everything started happening. This was a bit before COVID started coming in. I just knew that I had to get out. I had to get out of chefing. Like my brigade started deteriorating. I just needed to get out. So I took the plunge, and obviously I learned bits and pieces of information on how to get into property. So I literally I took a course. I quit my job and literally took a course as well, because I was self-employed anyway, and I had no other place to work, because then restaurants started closing down. I didn't have a recruitment business anymore, so I had to find another way. So I just knew if I didn't find a way, then we wouldn't have any food on the table or anything. So I literally just took a bit of money that I had. I'd done a course that was service accommodation, and as I say, yeah, I literally implemented that, and I knew that I had to find a property. It took me quite a while, but I was living on reserves, and that's how I managed to get into property. And I then got around the right people, and I soon started to see that everyone within the property actually cares about you. It's not like in the chefing world. It's all about ego, and it's all about, oh, my dish is better than your dish. Oh, yours is crap. But then in the property world, everyone wants to see you succeed, and you want to see everyone else succeed. And just being around that really drove me, and my passion started just flaring, and that was it. I was hooked.
Okay, cool. So that's what you went on the course, and then it got you hooked. It's like totally different to the kind of beat each other up style of doing things.
Yeah.
So then why? So was that your reason why property? Because of the people, or was there another reason?
No, there was definitely another reason. It was to have freedom, like to be able to spend time with my family. Like I missed out on so much as a chef. Like I missed out on every occasion. My friends would go out and have a pie. Alex, are you coming out? No, sorry, I've got to make my mise en place for tomorrow. I missed out everything. Birthdays, Christmas. Like every time that people go out for an occasion, like your Christmas dinner, that would be me cooking it, and I could never be on that other end. And I always knew, like when I moved up to North Wales, like just close to Chester, I moved up about 5 years ago, and that's when I leveled up again in the chefing world. I started doing Michelin and things like that, and started working in people's mansions and things like that. Just doing like canapes, mise en place, entrees. Then I always said to myself, like, I want to be on the other end. I want to be able to be that person that has a place like this, that literally can afford and that to do this. And for me, I wanted to spend time with, like, get my time back, basically. That was the biggest thing for me,
Good.
Yeah.
So then it took you a while to get your first property. So then talk us through, how all of that happened.
Okay. So I did struggle. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna say it's easy. I was surrounding myself around the right people. I was reaching out to people on social media and things like that. Obviously, it was hard because of COVID and things. Obviously, came in at the very early starts. So I was just doing everything I possibly can, and then I managed to acquire my first deal. That started making profit quite quickly. So I guess it was just a case of implementing it, and because I could then see it and visualize it, and it was working, it was a case of rinsing and repeating. So we did that for our next 3, which then we had a 4 rent to SA units. It was already generating £2,000 a month minimum. Sometimes we had better months, sometimes we had slightly worse months, but on an average we're talking about £500 to £800, roughly per unit. So already we were starting to get some momentum. Then we also, so once we started doing that, I found myself having more time and more passion, and I just really wanted to start scaling up. But we then fell into sourcing as well alongside, because we started coming across a lot of these deals. I built some amazing relationships as well with a lot of agents and things like that, and direct to vendors. And I started getting loads of deals coming in, and it was an amazing time. Like, it wasn't always that easy. I guess it's because there was a lot of uncertainty in the market. A lot of these landlords and the agents, they wanted to work with a company. They wanted to work with someone that has a bit more stability, because we could offer that, guaranteed rent and things, as opposed to tenants that were, having to move back and things like that. So yeah, that's where we went to.
And I think it's a super interesting topic, and it cheeses some people off sometimes about, like, is it easy or not? Or like, people sometimes like, oh, you make out that it's so easy, and I think it's pretty simple to just put it down to. It depends how you look at it.
Yeah.
It totally depends how you look at it. you know, and I think, you know, due to the tribe, which by the way has by far been my most valuable asset over the last couple of years. You know, the people, the knowledge, the connections, the inspiration, the spurring on, the accountability to keep showing up all the time, you know, feeling like, yeah, I can add value here, and knowing I'm going to get value back from the people and the level of community. So by far my most valuable asset. Yeah, but like it depends how you look at it, because in 2000, you know, so recently people have been saying, oh, it's tough. People are paying over asking price. You know, properties are not on the market for very long. You know, price rises. There's no money in, money out deals anymore. You know, and all this stuff, right? And I remember in 2017, we were told that you'll never do a HMO for your first deal. You'll never get a commercial valuation. You'll never even get, you know, like the bank's not going to lend you their money because you don't have any landlord experience. They told me there's no money in, money out deals anymore. You can't get high valuations. What else did they tell me? They said, you know, Brexit was happening or just happened or whatever. There's going to be a property bubble crash and all of this stuff. 2017. Yeah, that's what they were telling me. You know, fast forward 3 years, 16 million quid's worth of deals been done. And now they're still trying to say the same thing to everybody. Yeah, and some people, they crumble and they stop and they get worried about what's being said. And I'm just thinking, well, imagine if I'd have listened to that 2 years ago. 3 years ago. Can you imagine 2017 if I listened to all of that? You know, and there was a book I read, and I think this information is valuable for people to know. There was a book I read that said, you know, when it comes to business, when it comes to like sales, marketing in your business, and it was this book in particular, a lot of the examples was about the print industry, you know, so selling printers and, you know, managed solutions. Yeah, and it said today is the noisiest point in history in the marketplace. There is more advertising. There is more competition. You know, vendors are doing more diligence. The buying process is, you know, very diligent. You know, people are getting, you know, numerous different quotes and pitting different companies against each other. Like now is the toughest time to be able to do business. Now is the toughest time to be able to create business. Put it in the comments. Who would agree with that? Yeah, if you agree with what I just said, all those statements that was written in that book, you know, put it in the comments. Would you agree with that, Alex? Like,
100%.
Yeah.
Without doubt.
Good. I just want to see, because there's a bit of a time lag, I know there is on the comments. I just want to see if any comments coming through. Do you agree that that's what the situation is? Because whether it's print management, whether it's, you know, Amazon business, whether it's sourcing, whether it's, you know, service accommodation, whether it's any type of strategy through property investing, and I love building it as a business. Yeah. Let me tell you something, guys. Let me tell you something. That book with all of that information that I just regurgitated was written in 1951. 1951. It's always going to be the time. It's always going to be the toughest time. Why? Because you're in it. Your mind's in it. Yeah, so that's the difference between what's hard and what's not hard, or what's easy and what easy. There is no good, there is no bad, there is no easy, there is no hard. It's only the thinking that makes it so. That's what William Shakespeare said. Never met the guy, but seems to be wise enough. Yeah. So what is cool is then, you know, I know only the start of this year, right? So you was in property before you came across real life.
Yeah.
And then the start of this year, I mean, tell us what's been happening then.
Well, to be honest, I've kind of just 10x, and that since being around the tribe, like being around like-minded people. I was around like-minded people already, but I never really had a structure or a system to follow. You know, it's just having that right framework to follow and just keeping me accountable. You know, and that's really excelled. You know what we was doing. Like we obviously had our SA business. We went into sourcing. Our sourcing business generated 6 figures just in the last 12 months. You know, so the first sort of 6 months was good. You know, we're ticking over and things like that. But since I started implementing what I've learned from real life, you know, and actually having that framework and actually writing down your goals and your visions and doing your affirmations and I was also like my miracle mornings and things like that, making sure that I had a plan. And then since then, it just absolutely scaled. So we've done almost quarter of what was it? So yeah, about 220,000 it was so far in the sourcing side, and that's myself and my business partner Jamie. We've done that just in the short space of time and implementing what we've learned with you guys. And not just that, we've met some amazing people. Like everyone in the tribe is incredible, honestly. Like I see the tribe like my family now, and everyone's always there for you. Everyone can just jump on a live with you or a video if you've got a question. We have like so many questions that we've had on our weekly on a Monday masterminds. It's helped me so much. Like we've met JV partners as well from the tribe. We've got amazing JV partners now. We've got like care home conversions, and that we're doing a commercial to residential in Pwllheli in North Wales, which is looking pretty juicy.
Good.
Yeah, we've also got a resi to HMO conversion that we're doing with another joint venture partner that we've met in the tribe. So all of this wouldn't have come to light if I didn't take that next step. I've had a lot of training before, but the tribe's second to none. Yeah.
Awesome. So I want your opinion on this then, Alex. So, some people, when they like maybe go through the similar journey to either you or me or anybody else, like, we find it tough, we work our ass off, but we know there's something more to give. There's a bigger impact to the planet that we can have and all the rest of it. Some people might not see that far ahead, but it starts kind of probing them, itching them. So then out there in the marketplace, there's all this technical information of how to do this, how to do that, which, by the way, go and subscribe to my YouTube channel. And you can get it all for free. Just tell me what you want to know and I'll get it. Even if I don't know it, I'll find someone who does know it. Because it ain't about the technical information. It's not about, everybody knows what to do. If you ask a question, I didn't know, I ask a question, now I do know. Yeah, but then it's about doing what you know. So I want your opinion on this, because I even know there are other adverts from other people in the marketplace now starting to copy what we've been doing for years, which, by the way, we haven't even been going 3 years yet, the training. Yeah, and we have the highest success rate in the marketplace. So obviously people are going to start, copying what we do. Makes sense. Why not? But that's now saying, it's not just about the information, it's about who you become, and it's about the personal development, it's about the personal growth. So although, you had a lot of training before and it was technical information and, how to do this, how to do that, blah, 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 what would you now say to someone else? Because for me, it's the hardest thing to help people understand. Like they want, how do I do a buy-to-let? How do I do a HMO? What about these rules? What about these regulations? Which, by the way, you come to the mastermind. If you don't know, you ask a question. You just post a question in our private community. Like you get everything, help. We're doing like what's working now. We do group mentoring and coaching. I directly, work with people, so all of that stuff. But like, what would your advice be, or how do you see it? Now you see, wow, there's this whole back end of stuff. Like when I grow, then bam, my business can only grow as far as I can grow. What's your take on that?
Yeah, I think personal development like plays a big part. Like before I knew all like the analytical side, I knew all of the figures and things, and I knew what to do. But it's when you actually become that person, like in order to become a millionaire, you must think like a millionaire. This is what they normally typically say. And for me, that was, being around the tribe, being around the right people, it certainly helped me develop as a person, get more focused on my outcome, and I've got a massive outcome, and it was all, and also learning through the tribe, like never change your outcome, just sometimes change your the way you're getting to that outcome, so I've always been pretty strong with what my outcome is now. Yeah.
Good. What is that?
So my outcome is, so once I've accomplished, I'm financially free now, through property. So I've managed to, acquire enough cash flow coming in to cover my expenses for the month. So financially free. But now it's being able to spend time with my family and things like that. But my overall outcome, and this was actually from a very young age. Like I used to go and see my nan and granddad in Essex, and they're surrounded by like poverty and things like that. And there was just so many homeless, and I'm talking quite young. Like this really hit me at a young age, and we was going around like a shopping centre, and I've never seen so many people outside with duvets, and it was absolutely chucking it down, and I just felt so sorry. And I remember like giving them £2, and that was pretty much all I had at that age, you know, and being able to, I just want to be able to make an impact in that as well for homeless, and you know, that's really always been very strong in that for me. You know?
Nice, good.
Outcome.
And I believe, you know, everybody cross paths for a reason, and people in our community, they come together because all got this, you know, bigger thing that's pulling them towards, you know, some higher impact or some higher thing. So what would your advice be, Alex, to the people out there that either want to get started or know that there is more? You know, how do they overcome the blind side of just falling into like living for the weekend, or maybe like, you know, just settling? Because at the end of the day, if you quit your job and then
don't do what I did. Just jump straight in the deep end.
Yeah, but here's the thing, like you quit your job, and I know many other people that are like, oh, I want to do this, I want to do this, and for years they don't do nothing, and then the circumstances decide for them.
Yeah.
Like, you know,
I have no choice. Yeah.
You see, when you got no choice, you make it work. But at the end of the day, you know, I realized this in the shower today. Yeah, you know, like when you have a choice between cold water and hot water, you want to choose the hot water. And if it's cold, then what happens is, like, all of a sudden you can't take it. You can't take the pressure of the cold water. But when you know, like sometimes either on holiday, or you can't say because it's hot, because it's stonking hot here right now. Yeah, so you can't say that it's just because it's hot. But like when you don't have a choice, you're like, there isn't no hot water. Even I'm showering outside, you know, it's one of those holiday resorts, or you just know there's no hot water for whatever reason, and there's no choice. Now all of a sudden you can take the cold. And it occurred to me in the shower today. I was like, wow, it's a choice. You know, so when people don't have any choice and they're back against the wall, like they're forced out of the company, they've got to make it work, then they can take the pressure. Yeah. So what's your advice, Alex, to the people that are not in that position, because either they've not created it, or they've not been forced to leave, or been made redundant, or whatever, but they are choosing just to go back to the warm water all the time? You know, what's your advice?
I think first off, like, you need to have a goal. You know, you need to have an outcome. Like, what do you want to achieve out of life? Like, because I know some people that are happy, like, with just doing work, with going to work, having that 9 to 5 life, you know, and they're quite content. So I think, you know, it needs to be personal. You know, if you want to be something better, or you want better from yourself or something like that, then yeah, I just think go out there and get it. You know, like, you've only lived once, you know, so I just think have a goal, you know, have someone that can hold you accountable, get yourself a coach, you know, just because you might think that you're doing 100%, but then when you have a coach, they can give you that little extra percent, that little kick up the arse, you know. And I've needed that so many times. You know, I get sucked back in with, you know, thinking that I'm doing amazing, you know, and, you know, especially when I started getting the rent-to-rents, and, you know, I've got up to 9 rent-to-rents, HMOs and SAs. So we started getting that cash flow coming in, £4.5 grand. I thought, yeah, that's enough now, you know, and we kind of stayed at that, and I kind of stopped. But then I got a coach, and I joined Real Life, and now we're doing things I've never even dreamed of, you know, like doing massive conversions, and a care home that we're converting into a luxury manor house, you know, that you sleep up to 16 people, hot tub sauna, you know, for you know, the leisure market. And then we've got amazing joint venture partners I've met through that. I just think play a bigger game, you know, just know that there's more to life than just working 9 till 5, and, you know, just trying to do what everyone else is doing, that rat race. You know, just get yourself off that wheel and just take the plunge. Like I say, I'm not saying it's easy, but sometimes you don't know what's easy and what's not easy unless you take that chance.
Yeah. Until further. Oh, by the way, well said. That's amazing. Good advice. Anybody listening to this is, you need to be taking note of what's being said here. Yeah. I'm still kind of, until further information presents itself that tells me otherwise, there is no easy, there is no hard. It's just the thinking that makes it so. So, like, I would say an added bonus that's going to help you is do something that you love.
Yes.
Yeah. And I love people. I love business. I love adding value. I love building teams. So property is game on for that. In fact, when you can do all of those things, you don't need to know, and nor do I know all the ins and outs, but I don't need to know either. I mean, that's insane. Like, how can I know everything to do with the architect process? How can I know everything with structural engineering? How can I know everything that needs to be done to build, a massive estate of 66 houses? I don't know how to do that. So that forces me to go build a team that knows how to do it. Yeah. And that's what Robert Kiyosaki says too. So, very inspiring words that you said. I've got one more question for you.
Yeah.
That's super important. But I did have this epiphany recently as well around financial freedom, because I think a lot of people might say that they want financial freedom, but they're probably quite, people who are chasing it, they don't even know what it is. And I realized something, and this might just be my view, so I'd like to see in the comments, guys, of what you think. But like, I was told before that financial freedom is when your passive income exceeds your expenses, like your living expenses. Yeah. And then there was this whole thing about what's passive. Is passive do nothing? Because, in property, do you still have to do things? Do you still have to keep the, eye on the ball? Yeah, I've got team members who run things and all the rest of it, but I'm not just going to shut my eyes and hope it carries on, working well. So then I thought, what is financial freedom if that's the case? And I realized maybe, just maybe, financial freedom is more to do with the mental side, where you don't have to worry about money. Now that doesn't mean that you have so much money you don't have to worry about it. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that financial freedom is when you can solve problems. Financial freedom is when you can solve money problems. When a situation starts to occur, you can solve it, even if you don't know the answer. I'm just starting to believe that may be financial freedom. I don't know if it is. I would like to see, we're doing a bit of market research here. I would like to see, what do you think, Alex, on that topic?
Yeah, no, I totally agree as well. It's for us, like, it's never been about the money or anything like that. It's literally just been about what can that do to our lives, to be able to give us financial freedom. Like, it's never been, I'm not this type of person that just wants all the money and I just sit there and hold it. I want to be able to do good in that to the world. I want to be able to provide, services, and I want to be able to help people, and I want to be able to help the homeless and things like that. And it's always been big for me. And, with that, you have to have that time, so in order to be able to help others, first you must help yourself, and that was, again, a big one for me, because I've always tried to help everyone else, but I've never been in a position, when I was back in my chefing days, I'll be staying after hours. I'd look at another chef and he's got mise en place to do, and he's like, "Oh, Alex, I'm really in the crap here. Like, I need help." Yeah, no worries. But I was always trying to help everyone, but then being able to help more people in a bigger scale, yeah, you must be in a position to be able to, and in order to be able to provide that, I needed to be financially free. And just enough, just to get through, just to be able to be in that position, to be able to help more people, to achieve that,
Absolutely. Well, I can sense that something very relevant, which is watch this space, everybody. We can see Alex is on to doing amazing things, and I'm sure we're going to do some great things, together. And like, looking forward to see what occurs. Put this date in your diary, 11th of December, which is the Real Life Awards. coming back to us live after we did it virtual last year, which is an awesome thing. Just, when you talk about like-minded people, I want people to consider this, not just around like-minded people, but you're around trained people. People who are trained in accountability, team building, money raising, business, personal development, transformational work, responsibility, all of this stuff, standards, code of honors, rules, live to a high standard. When you're around trained people and you start to slip a bit, they, slap you about and get you back into play. So I've got one more question for you, Alex. But before I ask you this question, I want to just say thank you so much for coming on here. If we inspired one person today from watching this, job mission accomplished. But I know many, many, many people will be inspired about what you've said and how you come across.
I really appreciate everyone jumping on.
Yeah, excellent. So good job, and awesome to see that your very proud mum is on here. Well done, mum. You have a good one here. My mum don't even know how to work Facebook, so
I'm quite blessed. I'm blessed.
Yeah, good job. So here's a serious question, because we can never ever let people forget that they must do the right thing for the right reason. Now, why is that?
Well, it's because the only way you're going to be able to find out your true potential.
I love it. I love it. I thought there was a different answer coming, but he's got it, baby. It's the only way to discover your true potential. So thank you for watching, Alex. Thank you for being on here. You're going to catch us every week, bringing you the hot topics in property, business, and money. But until next time, you heard it here from Alex. He said you got to do the right thing for the right reason, because that is the only way to discover your true potential. See you next time. Take